What's happening, guys? It's Boxing Lowdown and I'm back here with another video. Now I'm delighted to say I've got my dad joining me again, and we're gonna talk about Terence Crawford, who's fighting this weekend, December the 14th. I believe it's in Madison Square Garden, making another defense of his WBO welterweight title against, I'm not even gonna even try and pronounce his name. I just know that he's gonna go by his boxing name, which is Mean Machine. I have seen Mean Machine like once or twice. He is in the lower half of the welterweight top 10, but he's not the type of fighter we wanted to see Terence Crawford in, considering how talented he is. Now, what were your thoughts when this initial fight was announced?
Well, my initial thoughts is, who's he fighting, man? Because I mean, you know, I have to say I was kind of disappointed that he's not been able to secure the big fights.
No.
And let's have it right, it's not Terence Crawford's fault. He's calling out the big names of the division, including Errol Spence, but for whatever reason, he's not getting those fights, and it's a shame because, to me, in my humble opinion, Terence Crawford is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world today.
Yeah.
You can make a case for
Canelo,
Lomachenko, but even if you haven't got him as #1, you've got to have him in your top 3, really, ain't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for him to maintain the status as the elite champion that he is, we want to see him in meaningful fights against guys that we know about. Now, no disrespects to Mean Machine, but I don't know too much about him. He's obviously a very competent fighter, but I can't see anything other than a Terence Crawford, a resounding win for Terence Crawford.
Yep.
But the problem he's got is fighting guys like this. It's not going to do his resume a great deal, is it?
And it's not going to get him up for it, really. I mean, it's not going to.
And that's the danger, isn't it?
That's the problem.
That is the danger. Although, having seen the interviews and read some of the stuff that's been put out there regarding the fight, it seems like he's taking this seriously. We know that Terence Crawford, unlike some other champions with a good name, he's all about that life, man.
Yeah.
He's a consummate professional. He's always in the gym. He always looks in shape. You never see Terence Crawford, do you? Looking out of shape and puffy and weight around the face and all that stuff. He always looks ready to go.
Yeah, he does.
One of the reasons why he's so good in the ring. He's a consummate pro, always looking to perfect his craft, which is one of the reasons why I'm such a massive fan of his. So I'm a little disappointed in the choice of the opponent, but then having said that, if he goes in there and does what we expect him to do, then he will be reinforcing his claim as one of the premier fighters in boxing.
I think going into 2020 now, I think we do really, I tweeted this earlier today, I think we really do need to see Terence Crawford fighting someone over in the PBC. I mean, the welterweight division is stacked, but it's stacked for the PBC fighters. Yeah. And unfortunately, with boxing politics and everything else, Bob Arum and Al Heyman don't have a very good relationship, so those fights are difficult to make. But interestingly enough, I did see Sean Porter after he lost to Errol Spence. He's been calling for the Crawford fight, so why can't we see that fight?
Yeah, that's weird because Terence Crawford is on the record previously as saying that he would never fight Sean Porter because they're good friends and so forth. But then Sean Porter's dad has said that they'd be interested in that fight. So
I think
what I saw was Sean Porter's. So you're saying Sean Porter called him out too?
I don't know if it was Sean. I know that the camp called, so someone within.
I thought it was Sean Porter's dad.
Kenny Porter, yeah.
He likes to do. He likes to talk.
But if Kenny Porter's saying it, then I'm sure Sean Porter would mean he can't backtrack on that. Yeah.
Listen, I'm sure even though they would appear that they're very good friends, but you know what boxing's like.
Errol Spence and Sean Porter were friends.
Yeah. If the money's right, they would. I'm sure they would entertain it. But he needs opponents.
He needs to. Yeah, I think we need to see.
And the problem he's got is that he signed this long-term deal with Bob Arum and Top Rank, and then you got the so-called other side of the street, which is a term that I really hate, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying, people, is that Terence Crawford is in the Top Rank camp, and then you've got people like Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Broner, and Danny Garcia, and loads of others. They're in the PBC Al Heyman camp. And because of boxing politics, the two promotional companies or outfits don't allow their fighters to meet. So what that does is it creates a chasm, and it means that you don't see the best always fighting the best, which is really disappointing.
And at the end of the day, the losers are us. When it comes to that. So,
and I have to say, the loser in this instance is Terence Crawford as well, because unfortunately for him, most of the talent in the welterweight division is primarily in the PBC camp. So much so that they're even talking about having their own belts and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's really disappointing that we've got to this stage in boxing, but it's the reality. And Terence Crawford,
Even a Kell Brook. I mean, like, well, he could have been available possibly. Kell Brook, he called for the Crawford fight, but Bob Arum came out and said, I remember the interview, he said that Kell Brook doesn't bring anything, but who's Mean Machine? I'm sure Kell Brook would have been more meaningful than that. But
yeah, and even Amir Khan, his last fight, listen, okay, it's the name on the resume, I guess, is, but that version of Amir Khan wasn't exactly
ever going to beat Crawford.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone knew what was going to happen in that fight. And let's be honest, Khan quit because he knew after a few rounds that he was on the way to be totally outclassed.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even that kind of took a little bit away from the win, didn't it?
Yeah.
For
and that was all the way back in April, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And already these guys of modern day fighters, they're only fighting once or twice a year. So if you're a guy like Crawford and you're not able to secure the big fights, it's kind of, he's at a very difficult stage in his career. Yeah. Because even Crawford, how old is he now? He's getting
30, 31.
Yeah, so
could be, yeah, about 31, 32 maybe now.
And then of course Errol Spence had that horrific car crash.
Yeah.
So even if he wanted to fight Crawford, that's not going to happen for about a year and a half at the very least.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be about another 6 months before
Yes,
Errol Spence fights again. And then even then,
that's not going to be against.
We don't know how he's going to look.
Yeah.
Because if anyone saw the outcome of that crash, the way that car ended up, he should thank his lucky stars he's still alive.
Let alone fighting.
And you don't know the damage that his body's taken until he actually gets in the ring and starts fighting. I mean, obviously, I hope and pray that he's okay. But, you know, again, you never know.
Let's quickly talk about the undercard. I mean, the
undercard looks good, man. I'm excited by that.
The main event is pretty underwhelming compared to the undercard.
Yeah.
You've got Richard COMMEY against Teofimo Lopez, which is an excellent fight.
Really good fight, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Title on the
line. Listen, man, Lopez, Teofimo, he's been seen as the next big thing, isn't he? And then he had a couple of fights which he's looked less than stellar, and then all of a sudden people thinking, hang on a minute, he was calling out Lomachenko and 1 and 2 others. He didn't look great in that last fight. He looked pretty beatable, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And Richard COMMEY is one of those solid, understated guys that doesn't talk a whole lot, but he goes about his work. Apparently he's very committed. Apparently he's looking excellent in training. Yeah. They say he's up for it, big star, and a lot of people who know more about boxing than me are saying he's got a real chance of causing the upset.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know what, I'd like to see COMMEY win. It's always nice to hear a story like that.
Yeah.
A guy that, I mean, let's face it, Teofimo is a wonderful talent. He'll be able to come again.
Yeah. As well. Yeah.
But COMMEY, man, I like how he conducts himself. I've seen him fight. He's a quality fighter. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him get the win, although the favourite money is going to go with Lopez because he's the hot shot.
What about Mick Conlon?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that,
man. He's going
man.
to look to reverse the injustice of that final, isn't he, against Nikitin? So
Mickey Conlon was an outstanding amateur. Watched him many times as an amateur. Really good. Sort of really.
What was your thoughts on that fight in the final?
It was disgusting, man. That was that. It wasn't quite of the Roy Jones-esque robberies,
but it was.
But it's up there, man.
Yeah.
It was up there. It was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
And we've seen since that all the judges and officials that officiated in that last Olympics, they've been struck off now.
Yeah, that's how
because
bad it was.
That was just, that fight there was one of a number of bad robberies, man. Grand larceny on a large scale that was taking place at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So he's fighting the Russian guy, Nikitin or something like that. Nikitin or something. He beat him up in the amateurs. And I'm expecting he's going
to take it on him.
And he's got longer to do it.
Yeah.
And he's very motivated to do it. Haven't seen much of Nikitin as a pro.
Yeah.
But he looks a good fighter though. He's obviously a top amateur as well, so you can't write him off totally.
Colin's
but I think the whole night is set up for. It could be one of those where it's weird that if anyone's going to get the decision this time, it's going to be Conlan. Let's face it, it's a top ranked card.
Yeah.
Conlan is one of the top ranked guys.
Yeah.
He's one of their main guys. So let's face it, if it goes to points, it's difficult to see Conlan not getting it. But I hope he can go out there and demonstrate that he's the better fighter.
Quick predictions in all three of the fights then.
Crawford inside the distance. Crawford's the kind of guy that he takes a couple of rounds to figure you out. Once he's made those adjustments, he normally goes on to just beat man up and take him out. So I'm going Crawford 8 or 9. He's actually looking, last 2 or 3 fights, looking better than I've ever seen him actually. So he's actually hitting the peak of his career, which is why I'm disappointed that he's not able to secure the big fights. But anyway, so that's Crawford. I think fight of the night is going to be COMMEY versus.
That's going to be hard to predict.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to predict. Now, all I would say is this: if you ask me with my head, I'd have to go Lopez because let's face it, he is the superior talent. Looks to be anyway. But if I'm going with my heart, I'm a bit personally invested in COMMEY because I like his story, I like him as a fighter, and I know how much he wants this and how much he wants to win. And he's gone on record as saying that he wants to fight Lomachenko after. So he's making a lot. Although to be fair, Lopez has as well. He's been calling out Lomachenko for a while.
Calling out a long time.
But anyway, there's 2 quality fighters in there. May the best man win. But I'm hoping for COMMEY. But I think it will be Lopez.
Conlan?
Conlan, yeah, Conlan for me all day long. Like I was saying, I like Mick Conlan. I like his story. I like what he did in the Olympics when he flashed the middle finger. I actually quite liked him doing that because under normal circumstances, you wouldn't want someone to show bad sportsmanship. But you've got to think of the circumstances in which he did that. It was such a bad decision. He got totally shafted and he let it be known, and I kind of respect him for that. And it just showed, that whole incident, it shone a light on what was going on. Because decisions like similar to that were going on all through the tournament. So I big him up for that. He's a very exciting fighter. I want him to get the win. I want to go on for him to get a world title, and ultimately I want to see him and Shakur Stevenson go at it one day.
That'd
so yeah, big up Mick Conlan.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening, and you know, those are our predictions and thoughts ahead of the fights this weekend. Let me know your thoughts and predictions in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we'll be back again soon.
Hopefully, yeah.